Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How are we getting on? Welcome to a brand new camp. So today we are working with the Hunter's Lodge prefab, the rank 95 reward on the current Season 12 scoreboard. Big spot this, and an interesting build, so let's jump in. Okay, so a bit of a change on the usual approach. We're going to do this as a tour because this prefab is frankly quite huge, and also weirdly not in some ways as well, but we'll get to that later. But yeah, the sheer size of the thing means that it's kind of centered on the one prefab, so it makes it a very decoration-heavy sort of a camp. So rather than just placing objects down over and over, I thought we'd tour the finished product. Let's have a look at where we are. You can see we are just up from Wixon Homestead here, in the isolated cabin, over in the very, very early part of the game, over by Vault 76 here. Right on a little pond that is sort of behind the hunting lodge there, and yeah, really nice little spot, and it seemed like the perfect spot for this sort of build. It really looks like it belongs in this sort of area, as we will see in just a sec. So there we go. Yeah, I like this. It kind of blends into the trees. I added a couple more trees around the back just to kind of sort out the backdrop a little bit, make it a little tidier back there, but most of the trees around this are actually already in place, so it really kind of drops into the environment nicely. The tall grass and everything just works pretty well, and I really like the look of this prefab. The thing, as you can see, is really tall. It's technically only 2 stories, but it's absolutely massive. The ground floor obviously is up in the air anyway, and then it's got a really, really high ceiling in it, so huge prefab. It takes up a surprisingly large amount of the build area, obviously not all of it. I had originally planned to have a kind of small sort of crafting type of building on this side, but my budget use came to absolutely maximum, bar like a tiny little sliver. So it's probably not such a bad thing that I didn't do that in the end, because I was already struggling to get everything I wanted in to decorate it. Tucked a little Brahmin in the back corner there, because it just feels kind of appropriate. I don't know why. Probably because of the front garden, which we'll have a look at in a moment. So yeah, with this thing just dominating on its own, I felt that just sort of working with that and adding a garden and outside space to it was kind of the way to go. So we've got a fence around the outside here that is not really designed to be a big kind of fortification so much as just more of a improvised garden fence vibe. So you can see there's loads of different bits, pieces and textures and material pieces used to just pull together an improvised fence. Got the windmill in the corner there providing a bit of power. It just gives a little bit of extra interest to that back side of the camp as well, which works quite nicely. Decided to put 2 oil lamps either side of the gate here, so if anybody comes visiting, they can at least find where the entrance is. Not that they can't just jump over, but if you're going to look for the entrance, it's easier to find it that way, because everything being so mishmatch makes it kind of hard to spot. But I do like the way this has come out and the way it looks. This garden area, obviously, it's similar to something I actually did quite a while ago here. I've got a feeling in my head it might have been last summer, but I can't quite remember. And I did a much smaller build, but had a similarly large garden out front. And yeah, decorating that really requires using crops, because we don't have a lot of plantables other than that. But it makes for a reasonably nice garden look. Got my collectron tucked in the corner there. Quite happy with how he looks. Decided to put a little path in, indicated by the stones there as well. It kind of creates a nice little thoroughfare and divides things off nicely as well. Wonder if maybe I should have had things a little less even and less sort of in rows here, because it's more of a field vibe there. Maybe I should have mixed it up a bit, made it a bit more wild. Something for a future build, maybe. But, yeah, quite happy on the whole. Got a few brambles around just to kind of break up the transition between the prefab and the ground a little bit. This sort of area here under the balcony that's, I wouldn't say dead space exactly, but with the sort of slope on the ground, it limits how much we could fit in here, but it did make a nice space for the power armor station there. And we also got to use the new stash box, the new Vault-Tec stash box off of the current season as well, which I'm quite happy about. I had to get some use out of that. It's a bit weird, but I do quite like it at the same time. I don't know, I have to ponder that one. Yeah, this thing is huge. I really do quite like the look of it. It goes well with that windmill as well. It's a nice little look. I like that generator a lot. Really glad I got that picked up. We'll head on up. A shelter down there. I put a few little bits and pieces out front here as well, because this first floor is quite high up, and it's unavoidably so. You can't actually sink this prefab down all that far. Technically, it could go a little bit lower, but there's reasons we'll get to in a minute as for why I didn't. But I did mean I felt I needed to dress the front edge a little bit up, so that's why we've got some stuff in front of it. Nice little seating area out here on the front veranda, though. Got a little area for my vendors out here. Needed the vendors in somewhere, wanted to make them look a little bit interesting, and because, as you can probably tell, I've got Yasmin hanging out inside the lodge here, I needed to lock the doors, so hence why the vendors had to be out here, so that people could get access to them, so Yasmin doesn't leave my front door wide open, and also the one upstairs as well. She has a habit of doing, even though she doesn't actually leave the lodge, she just opens the door randomly. Very helpful of her. But there we go, kind of a relatively standard type interior for me, but I like how it looks. Excuse Yasmin kind of clipping through the table there. She really likes that one chair for some reason, and I don't know why. It seems to be the one seat she goes for. Very, very occasionally another one, but 90% of the time it's that one. But I used the flamethrower to demolish the table so that I could sit the chairs nice and close, which saves on space and makes it look neat and tidy, but does mean she's kind of clips through the table when she uses it, as with the player, of course. Like my little seating area here, kept it light touch because with the decoration, because, well, I ran out of budget, and unfortunately the hearth here is a little bit weird around the fireplace. No fire in the fireplace, which is a bit sad. Also, the collision box is really strange, so you can see where things are clipped into the hearth there, and it's odd. Unfortunately, I can't pull them out because of the collision box either, which is very, very annoying. But, yeah, I would minimise what you do on the hearth there, because things do have a habit of dropping you down through it. I do love the windows on this prefab, though. They're a really cool sort of look to it, give a really cool mood. Strange green tint to them, but they create a really nice kind of light atmosphere to the place, and it's pretty cool. Actually, a lot of the texture work in here that Bethesda have done, it's really, really cool. I like the walls, I like the details on the floor as well. It's nicely down the stairs too. It's pretty cool. A relatively standard design for the kitchen here. Really standard for me. I elected to not push the cooking station or the sink all the way back because I thought they looked a little bit better if they stuck out forward. Not quite perfect either way, but it just looked better. On the whole, I kind of like how that looked. Went with Yasmin's cooking station here, primarily because I felt the other cooking stations we have would have looked out of place. The ones I would normally use have the pipe at the back, and I try to hide those inside the walls, which isn't an option with a prefab, so Yasmin's cooking station avoids having the pipes on the inside. It's reasonably clean, so it kind of suits the clean look of the prefab as well, so I quite like it for that. And of course it functions as a cooking station for player use as well, which is also a win. A little breakfast bar there that I quite like having as well, and a few bits of decoration around as well. Quite pleased with the look there. It's come together quite nicely in that kind of country vibe. Mezzanine bedroom I like a lot. Something I occasionally do in my own builds, but one thing I would like to have seen a little different, if I'm nitpicking, is maybe having that upper level be a little bit bigger. Bring it towards this corner where we're standing a little bit more, so you've got some more space, because there really isn't much room up here. Which very, very much limits it to a two-person sort of a vibe, this particular place. But, yeah, it does kind of work. The bed tucked in the corner by the window there. Don't know if I should have turned that 90 degrees or not. But this is the new bed from the current challenge event that's running at the moment, the cold shoulder one that I covered earlier in the week. So this is the sort of four-poster vibe. There is also a hunting lodge style bed that I believe is a Fallout First reward on the current season that I think would have been a better fit for the place. Not least of all because that bed doesn't have the blood all over it. And I've got to admit, I wouldn't want to sleep in a bed with bloody pillows and bloody rags all over it. So, yeah, I don't think even post nuclear apocalypse that will be your go-to, so... Otherwise, I really like that bed, but I think the bloodstains were perhaps an odd choice. The walls up here are quite nice, big sort of wooden panelling. I love the sort of material contrast, you know, stone below and wood on top. It's something I do occasionally myself. But, you've got big blank sheets of walls that I kind of didn't want to detract from too much, but I did want to break up a bit, so that's what I went for with the flags there. Heading out to the balcony. I haven't used a hot tub in ages. I'm kind of having a bit of a mental debate as to whether or not I should use this one or the Nuka-Cola one, which is a little bit smaller. But that fits, so it's fine. I would have liked to have dressed it up a bit more, but again, come back to the limited budget thing again, and as always, another 25% would have been nice, but I think even if I had that, I'd probably just keep on decorating and be saying the same thing at the end anyway, and we all know what happens to frame rates when we over-decorate camps, so it is what it is. But needed somewhere for a crafting area, and this sort of side bit of the balcony out here works quite nicely. It's small and compact, but I kind of wanted to tuck it out of the way, because I feel like the crafting benches don't really blend into the hunting lodge prefab. They're a bit of a contrast. This place to me has a kind of holiday home vibe. The whole structure, which is fine. I like it. But it means the workbenches are a bit odd. Sort of tucking them out of the way a little bit around the side really gives it a different vibe and kind of stops them intruding on something that makes them look otherwise out of place. So around the back here is an idea I borrowed from Steve. So he pointed out that he decided to build a jetty out the back of his, and I see why, because this place really does need something around the back. This back edge of the prefab doesn't feel quite finished, to me anyway. But just a straight line of foundations here along the back. To put these in, I put the foundations in place first, so I used the prefab to figure out where I wanted them. Put the foundations in, put the fences on, and then move the prefab towards the foundations, as opposed to the other way around. It allows it to sit a bit more snugly. There's a couple of bits on the edge of the prefab that stick out in the corners that kind of interrupt the collision a little bit and cause some issues. But I was pleased to see that this staircase would clip right through the middle of the foundation. And this is one of the reasons why I had to have the prefab up as high as I did. It won't go down as far as I'd like anyway, but if I sunk it down any lower, the stairs hit the vertical face on the right there of this foundation piece, sort of from the inside beneath the surface. At the bottom of the stairs going underneath the surface there, and that then caused collision issues where it didn't seem to with the upper surface. So that was a whole thing that took a bit of fiddling to get it right, but it means the thing needs to sit up a little bit. But it did work out quite nicely, and yeah, one good thing about having this lowered down a little bit is it doesn't obstruct the view from the windows from the lounge area inside either, so that works quite nicely too. So, taking a little look under the stairs, kind of wish this bit of floor extended a bit further and I could have used it for something a bit more. Maybe just one extra section there would have been nice. And then I could have had the power armor station up here rather than down there. But it's fine. I've got my brewing station under the stairs. It works quite nicely. And I say, I really like this prefab. It's come together very nicely, but it's kind of little bits. Maybe this would have been better. Maybe that would have been better. But it's that constant kind of how long do you really want to iterate on a thing for? Nitpicking, really. But still, that's what we do. If this, but if that, but etc. Yeah, it's fairly simple on the crafting area, and I quite like how it's come out. Nice to use that wall cabinet once in a while as well for a stash box, which I don't get a lot of opportunity to do, and it fits quite nicely in there. Nice little view if you're leaning on the railing here down onto the garden and across towards Wixon Homestead, which is out front there as well. Got a little area to sit as well, which is not too shabby. Don't mind this at all. Yeah, we'll head on back inside. Yeah, there's a number of things I really do like about this prefab, and like the texture, the design, the look of it is really, really cool. It's got a really, really nice vibe to it. There's little details around that are really nice as well, which I like. And it's come together quite nicely. Quite pleased with how the decoration looks. But again, a little bit more budget would have been nice, because there's things I would have liked to have added and maybe do use a different bed. But on the whole, I do quite like it. Got a few of the plushies around, some of the newer ones as well look quite nice. Little dressing table there. And yeah, it's a comfortable kind of homely, relatively clean build, this one. I'm quite pleased with that final look. Yeah, he has been hanging out in the corner. Yeah, all in all, quite a comfortable place. One of the other things I do quite like about having the crafting benches where they are, to get to that upper area of the balcony, especially with the walls and the fences I've put on, the only way to get there really is to come through the house and up the stairs and back around, which kind of encourages you to really look around the space and use the space, because otherwise there's an easy habit of just basically coming back to your camp, using your benches and leaving again, which means you put a lot of work elsewhere and not actually getting to appreciate it. So having to sort of navigate your way through is kind of a good thing with this camp, really. Get to appreciate more of what I spent the time doing. So I think I will enjoy hanging out here for a little while. I do quite like the final look. It looks pretty clean, pretty homely and welcoming, which is quite cool. Not massively post-apocalyptic, but not everything has to be scrappy, so quite pleased with it. So, I hope you folks enjoyed that one. If you did, please do consider dropping subs and likes. I do very, very much appreciate.
Down below the video, you can find social media links, merch store, channel memberships on that blue join button if you're interested in supporting the channel in that way. Massively helps out, and I really appreciate it. So, very, very huge thanks to everybody who's done that already. And if you get a chance, join us for live streams as well. We are, of course, playing 76, pushing on with the end of the season, and looking forward to the next one and the new update coming in a few weeks. And we are playing Redfall as well, which has been a good time too, having some fun slaying vampires in that. So, I do hope you join us for those streams as well. But for now, thank you very much for watching. I look forward to speaking to you all very, very soon.